Stay hydrated, kids. Stay hydrated. I don't want to get rid of that light. That is bugging the shit out of me.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Let's just jump right into it, man. Where's My Garden's most recent single was out last Thursday. It's super fun, and y'all have already been on a huge meteoric debut with your single out in January, and this one is already garnering a whole lot of attention. Now, most people, a lot of this press would have already gone to their heads. How are we feeling so far?
Um, I think pretty good, definitely. Definitely funny, like with like all the kind of initial hype. It's I guess making sure on our end that it almost like lives up to that. It's been interesting to see the amount of press it's gotten and everything, and we're just like, oh man, well I hope the next one gets this much because we like that one even more and like stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's been interesting. It definitely I don't think it's gone to our heads. I think it's almost maybe in our heads in the sense of like some imposter syndrome, because you get a lot of you're working your shitty job and then you see it's like the next greatest band in New York and you're like, I don't really think that's like exactly true, but we'll play into it.
No kidding, especially since you're not, well, I don't think any of you guys are native New Yorkers.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing. I definitely always think about like that kind of, I've only been in New York for about a year now, but I mean I've always come up here for work and such, and I lived in Philly, and before then I grew up in Jersey, so New York's always kind of been this like monolith in the distance, this kind of like capital city, kind of looming over everything, and I never really thought I'd end up here, but started out in like the AC region and went to Philly and was like, oh, the next place to go do this is the big place. But anyway, I mean, it's interesting. But then I realized you come here and it's like, okay, like all those bands that were marked as New York bands, none of them like grew up here. And our guitarists did grow up here. So it's like we have one thing ahead. But it's the spirit, I guess, that they're talking about.
Yeah, the press is definitely like, I think we're all really excited about it, and it's cool to see it like connecting with so many people in the industry, and like that people want to like, I guess like do what they want to do to help, which is like feels really good to have like that support. And I think like because we're so new still, there's just like it feels like there's like one half of it like went up and now the other like our half has to like come and like match it. I think it's just like with time, it'll like start to feel like more regular. But yeah, it definitely just feels like kind of unreal still. And I think like once we're like on the road more and like have more music out, and like it'll all just like we'll get more used to it. But it definitely feels good.
It sometimes seems like it's this thing we planned or like this kind of very strategic thing. It's like that's kind of just what happened. We put one song out and then it all just went crazy.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Lots of people would end up with some kind of industry plant label, but I mean,
Yeah.
you guys, every single one of you guys has been attached to 1, 2, 3, 10 different bands before you even get here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've been doing this for, they say it takes 10 years, and I think we've been doing it for 10 years at this point. It's crazy. But yeah.
I mean,
So-
the whole thing's pretty surreal, honestly. It's kind of strange.
Talk to me a little bit, guys, about how Where's My Garden kind of came together a little bit more. I know you guys have spoken before with a couple different magazines now about having the riff kind of put together already, having a lot of the chorus already written, but you haven't quite talked about haven't quite talked as much about how the song really came together in the studio.
Yeah, so there was an old version.
It's like because it's a perfect segue from like doing this for a long time, because I remember like during the pandemic, was really when I tried to kind of shift from just like being a bass player in bands to like taking like it more seriously and like getting better at writing songs and like just doing it all like more seriously. So that was like one of the riff of like the outro was like one of the first things I feel like I got where I was like, oh, this I could really see this like being bigger than just like a little thing I'm playing on the guitar right now. So then like in our old bands with Tim and me and like other people I worked with, I'd always like bring it up and it would just like never stick. But then I don't know, I kind of just kept doing that until me and Tim had kind of like the Monobloc, like a few other Monobloc songs ready, and then it like finally came together. And then there was like a whole like it's kind of like the thing where the finish line like keeps moving, where like we kind of like had the demo and then we thought like, oh, this is the song, and then we like recorded it and it like didn't sound quite right, so we decided to like record it again, which was like the song that came out like just a couple days ago. So yeah, it's really like one of those songs that took a long time to get right. And then we were also like in the studio with the rest of the people in Monobloc, and that was like our first time doing that too. So it was cool to like have everyone like kind of play the parts through their own voices that were kind of like cultivated through like 6 months, or I forget how many months it was, like, you know, close to a year of like all playing the song live together. Kind of just like made the idea like develop even further, and then like figuring out how to get that into the studio was like really interesting compared to just like making the demo and then like recording it with like better gear and stuff. It was like, well, kind of like a whole new thing that we were doing.
Yeah, well, the song, like I feel like the first time we recorded it was when we recorded "I'm Just Trying to Love You," I think the same week, same session, and we didn't really know what it was. So to be completely honest, I think it was kind of something we thought it was just kind of like not a filler track, but they're probably like, yeah, this is not going to be the one. And then as we started playing live, it was definitely the one song for some reason that just kind of like really connected with like audiences, but also the band like really shined with it, just performance wise. So it was when we first started working with our team and stuff, and they when they came down and they saw us, they were like, what's that song? Little did they know that song was already out, but it just sounded nothing like it does now.
Yeah.
In your dork interview, you described the song as the closest you could get to legally saying, "Where are your friends tonight?" Let's talk a little bit more about the lyricism and the meanings behind the words, and what advice you might have for people who might be asking themselves the same question.
So I guess talking about like the general lyrics of the song, I feel like "Where's my garden? Where are my friends tonight?" I call myself "Where is my garden? Where are my friends?" Will always feel like the end. I just feel like it was like a really good summary of just kind of like that general feeling of just, hello, have I gone down the wrong path? Have I drinking the Kool-Aid and am I left with nothing? But also at the same time sound like a little too intense, like a little too I don't know, like a little too like dramatic. So I try to like cut that dramatic nature of it with the verses being a bit kind of tongue-in-cheek, and it's like pretty much the verses are me just kind of like at a dinner party, like having a conversation with someone about just like very I like what I like to say is like, you know, there's like Instagram ad subscription services like Castor Mattress and like Better Help and like stuff like that. I think it's I want to really capture like that, just like being like, should I buy the purple mattress? Is Dollar Shave Club gonna be the thing that's gonna kind of like make my life easier? And like, I don't know, it's like kind of just some weird, just like touching on that, just like it's like not like totally like consumerism bad, but it's just being like, I've gone down this whole kind of I'm gonna try to be an artist thing, and then you come back to those like people who've kind of just played it safely, and they're very quaint and they seem very put together, and you're like, is this real? And can I have some of this? And then at the very end of the song, it's like, do I want some of that, or am I just having like a moment of weakness? But it kind of just like lives in the gray area between that because I don't really think there is like a. I think we've all. I don't know. I don't believe it'd be such a black and white thing of like conformity or just being completely counterculture in that regard. I think it's like you're just kind of this thing. It's like flopping between the two, and it's all a bit different. We all have our things that we're. We all have the marketing that works on us. We have the products that we like. Unfortunately, no matter how punk you are, no matter how righteous you are,
So, Tim, you actually first met Nina, a guitarist, on TikTok talking about role-playing games. Let's talk a little bit more about our love for role-playing games. And as a musician, why is it so important to have creative escapes and hobbies and outlets like role-playing games?
Yeah, I feel pretty strongly about this because I think role-playing games, just like they were called growing up. They were like the big ones were like called like MMOs, which is like massively multiplayer online games. They were like these like living worlds that you could just kind of exist in with people from just around the world, and you kind of like of course similar to just the internet itself, you play like a persona. I mean, there was like of course, just growing up, there was definitely something interesting about just existing in like the physical world and kind of going about your life that way, and then you kind of hop on and you're talking to people from around the world. And it's just like this, you're existing in this kind of thing that's outside of what the physical world. That's also real. It has social dynamics. It has an economy. It has all this stuff. But I think one thing in terms of like why Nina and I kind of bonded over it, other than just being like total fucking nerds, is that it's really important to have for bands. The lore is so important to create when you're creating a band. It's way cooler when the band has this whole kind of essence or world around it. I always say it's it's the space between the songs on the record that are important. It's cooler if it's just if there's this whole kind of mystique around it and this thing where it lives in, and the songs kind of feel like they're all they come from the same vein, they match with the visuals. It's like this thing that like you can go live in while you listen to this band. I think there's a lot of bands that do it right, and the bands that do it right are like I just feel like it's way more, when I listen to them I can kind of picture myself in this setting, and I think it's just like a bit more rich than just the very direct marketing kind of like I'm not even a really fan of we tried it, but I think we went through this whole phase of where social media was very like pulling off the shell kind of and showing like the behind the scenes of everything, and I think that was like needed because it was like this refreshing kind of, it was like you had like the 2016 millennial pink kind of Instagram world, and then you had that taken apart. But I think now people are like, I kind of want to get lost in something again. I don't want to see the other side of everything. I think like artists like McGee do this really well. He's like one of the ones who most recently I'm like, there it is. It is like a world that it lives in. There's like this whole I know where I am when I'm listening to it. So yeah, I think, and then seeing the appetite for that has been really nice because I'm like, okay, cool. That kind of like reaffirms my theory. So yeah, that's what role playing game. I think that's it. Or even our creative director we work with, he's also similar to me and Nina, a huge role playing game nerd, and we play WoW like every night together. And when we're kind of describing something visually, we're like just using like descriptors from like a World of Warcraft zone. And I'm like, yeah, when like we need like the green from like Darkwood Forest. And he's like, all right, yeah, got you. Rather than like describe like a Pantone or like a film or something. So yeah, it's just like that's that, and I think it's just like why we, especially with like Nina and I, it was kind of like when we initially met, it was just like, okay, you get it, we could be creative partners together. Like that's just, it's like a superstition I have almost.
Because so, yeah. you can't build a band off of nothing. It's got to be some common ground going into it.
Yeah, and there's hundreds of people trying to start bands in the city. And I think the key of being in a band is sometimes like you got to find people who you're just okay like being stuck in a tube with for like 6 hours at a time and traveling together and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's the true key. You know, everyone can play on time. You know, especially in New York, there's a lot of good musicians.
Well, not everybody, but
Not everybody, but
let's talk about some next steps, guys. So you are heading off to Pete's Candy Store in August, your first week of August, and then shipping straight off to the UK the rest of the month. But you've yet to officially announce any more music. But you have sort of teased 2 more songs, Line of Feeling and Pachinki. Do we have an ETA on those getting rolled out soon? Do we have anything official projects, tapes, albums coming out soon? What's next for you guys?
So there's definitely going to be an EP that is either going to be the end of the year or top of the new year. That has yet to be exactly decided, but there will be a rollout to that, and yeah, you'll be getting new songs pretty consistently from us from now on. No 3-month gaps. So we got another one coming out in September, and then after that, I don't know the exact date, but it's going to be just a machine. So there will be more. And definitely Line of Feeling. Big fan of that one. Pachinki, I don't know the exact drop day for that.
Yeah, just gonna try to stay busy in the studio, keep making more stuff. But yeah, definitely a more consistent rollout going forward. Now that we got all of our ducks in a row, we're gonna keep it moving.
Well, here, guys, we'll end it off on my favorite question. What are you guys listening to right now?
Let's consult the Spotify. Let's be completely. I'm listening to. I've been listening to Roy Orbison.
I've actually been. So I had like the past few months where like I feel like I was only listening to like stuff I had newly discovered. Just listening to like a lot of the like the algorithmic stuff that was. So I was kind of all the like a mix of like newer post-punk bands and like some older stuff that I had not really gotten into before. Like this band Sparkle Horse was really cool, and he just like did this kind of like lo-fi like super like very uniquely produced, like very rough but also very like deliberately made sounding stuff, and then like collabed with a lot of artists like PJ Harvey and like a lot of other like people from that era. So I was really into that band, and now I've just kind of been on this weird thing of like, I don't know why, if it's because I'm like thinking about like writing more songs and stuff that was like inspiring to me when I was younger, but just going back and listening to like these like staples of like stuff that got me really into music, like early Arctic Monkeys or like stuff like Rage Against the Machine, and just like stuff that I hadn't really like touched in like a long time, and just kind of like coming back and like appreciating those things, even though it's not really like the current like influence. Just like hearing those in like the background of like my current life when I'm just like walking around like Bushwick is kind of interesting, because I was also like listening to it in Maryland when I was like 15, and I don't know, it's cool how stuff just like lasts that long despite like so many new like things coming out all the time.
Classics for a reason. Ben.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been listening to a lot of this band Violent Soho recently that my homie turned me on to. Like kind of sick, I guess like kind of punk hardcore stuff out of Australia. But I mean, kind of a lot of the same stuff. I mean, I've always been a huge fan of the Police. The new McGee record is fucking a masterpiece. So a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, kind of similar to Mop. I mean, just kind of trying to revisit like the whole reason I got into this in a way. So I mean, a lot of like Joy Division, and I mean, always like, I mean, my roots are in hardcore, so a lot of like Madball, Sick of It All, like recently Show Me the Body and stuff. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, all right. Well, hey guys, that's it. That's everything I had for you today. Quick and painless, just like we talked. Thanks so much again for stopping on behalf of myself and Tonitruale. It was great chatting with you today.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Rob.